Conferences can be boring and sometimes totally unproductive. But that wasn't the case with the Fresh Work Startup Conference against all odds, organized a couple of months ago. The conference had really power-packed sessions, and the attendees had the opportunity to have meaningful interactions with each other. Now, as usual, I was on the lookout for some interesting stories and storytellers, and even on that front, the conference did not disappoint. The session that really stood out for me that day was Running the Success Marathon by Vineeta Singh. Vineeta Singh is a fabulous startup founder and also a great storyteller. Now let's see what we can learn from her ability to tell stories to build her own company called Sugar Cosmetics. It is reported that this company does about 65% of its sales from lipsticks alone. It has a huge following amongst millennial women, and they are expanding their product portfolio at a very fast pace. In the fiscal 2020, they did about 100 crore in revenue in sales, and they are on track to do about 150 crore INR in sales in the coming financial year as well. Now with the pandemic, they've been able to make themselves a lot more significant, and that is why they are able to reach out to a lot more customers. But we are talking more about the presentation that Vineeta made at the Freshworks conference. Now her presentation was like a message wrapped in a story. Specifically, the message was about her Ironman attempt, and even within that, it was about her fear of swimming. Now, like most of us, Vineeta has always trained in swimming pools. So when she had to swim through a lake in Austria for her first Ironman attempt, it really freaked her out. Now the reason for that is interesting, that every time she put her head into the water while swimming, she could not see the bottom. And the not being able to see the bottom of the lake really is scary, and I can only imagine, because I would be scared too. But despite that, she did not give up. So even with the rescue team, she was always saying that, okay, let me try for a little while, and after that, if I cannot, I will give up. She did manage to complete the Ironman attempt despite this difficult bout of swimming, and one thing that she realized after that was about her fear of open waters. Now, like most people, because we have fear of something, we probably give up and we do not want to engage with that particular thing. Vineeta didn't do that. Vineeta in fact came back to Bombay, and she went back to open waters. She kept going back till the time that she was able to fight this fear and become a good open water swimmer. So within that, there is also the story of how she's been able to build Sugar Cosmetics. Before Sugar Cosmetics, both Vineeta and Kaushik is Vineeta's husband, they had another startup which was a makeup subscription box. Now for various reasons, it didn't really work out, so they had to shut the startup. Now either they would have gone back to their corporate careers, or like they really wanted to start another startup and make a mark for themselves. Now they had to use their fear as fuel to be able to start Sugar Cosmetics. So that's how they took the plunge. So that's the biggest lesson about using your fear as fuel. And within the entire narration that Vineeta did that day, she also had a lot of micro messages about how to run an experiment, how to actually get customers, how to keep your eye on the metrics, etc., etc. But all of them narrated through the lens of how you can use fear as fuel to build your own startup. So very, very interesting approach taken by Vineeta to be able to narrate her story. So what that did is, I reached out to Vineeta to understand if she uses these stories or storytelling only during these conferences, or whether she uses them otherwise as well. Now Vineeta mentioned that she uses personal stories even at work. So she narrates her stories of vulnerability, triumphs, etc. and that is something that motivates her staff, and primarily most of them are women. And at the same time, she encourages her team to narrate their personal stories as well. So what she's been able to do is also to build the vision of the company and make sure that everybody understands what it is by using the power of storytelling. That brings us to a very interesting point, and that point is the power of a contextual personal story. Now, let me give you a few tips on how I think you can use this as well. So, number one, identify. There's a thread between your personal life and your startup or your leadership role, or whatever professional assignment that you are on. It's important that you spend some time identifying what stories from your personal life are actually contextual or make sense for your professional life as well. It may need some time, it may take some thinking, but I am certainly sure that it actually is time well spent. Number two, structuring your story. So what most of us get wrong is that we think of a story as a narration of events, which is not really the case. A story is structured deliberately in a manner that you are able to deliver a message. So focus on what parts of the story actually make sense to the message that you want to deliver, and leave out the ones which actually do not really add any value to the story or to the message. So in case of Vineeta, when she was narrating the story about her twist with swimming or with Iron Man, she didn't really talk a lot about her startup. She maybe just spoke about 30% of the time, but that was enough for us to absorb the messages that she wanted to deliver. So you could take a cue from that as well. Third, practice. Now, they say that practice makes perfect, and it is advice for the ages. Now, what I know from Vineeta's experience is that this particular story which she talks about, Fear as Fuel, is not something that she's delivered at the Freshworks conference for the first time. Of course, she makes or tweaks the story every time that she has to speak to an audience, but she's been narrating this story for a while, which really means that she has total grasp and control of this story that she wants to narrate, and over a period of time, with audience feedback, she's made it even better and more exciting for us to listen to. So the other point is that get your personal stories ready and start testing them out with audiences before you actually have the big opportunity of going and speaking your story on some stage that really matters to you. So don't wait for that day, start preparing. So that's it from me in this video. I'll see you in the next one pretty soon, but before I let you go, the StoryCo is a storytelling coaching and training firm. We help startups and other companies get their investor pitches and their sales pitches, and also the story to their employees right. We use the science of storytelling to help them discover and deliver their story in a way that they stick, in a way that you get the desired outcome. We know that our work helps our clients unlock investments and sales with a lot less effort and in a lot less time. So if you have any questions about communications, pitching, investors, sales, etc., feel free to ask us in comments. I'll be more than happy to help you. And that's it from me in this video. I'll see you in the next one pretty soon.